Sarah could not believe what she was seeing. The man who had been giving her money every day for 3 months was standing on television. He was wearing a very expensive suit, and people were calling him Mr. James Wilson, the richest man in all Lagos. Her hands started shaking as she watched the big television in the electronics shop window. The shop owner always let people watch for free, and Sarah often came here when she had nowhere else to go. "That cannot be him," she said to herself. But it was. The same kind eyes, the same gentle smile, the same voice that always asked her how her day was going. Sarah felt dizzy. She sat down on the ground right there on the busy street. Cars were honking and people were walking fast, but she could not move. Her heart was beating very fast. 3 months ago, Sarah had been sitting by the roadside, as always, holding her small bowl and asking people for money. Her clothes were old and dirty. Her shoes had holes in them. She had not eaten anything for 2 days. Most people walked past her like she was not even there. Some people looked at her with angry faces. A few people threw small coins into her bowl without looking at her. But then he came. He was the most handsome man Sarah had ever seen. He was tall and strong. His skin was smooth and clean. His clothes looked very expensive, but he wore simple jeans and a white shirt that day. His black car was so shiny that Sarah could see her face in it. He stopped right in front of her. Sarah looked up, and their eyes met. His eyes were brown and warm like chocolate. He smiled at her, and Sarah felt something strange happen in her chest. Her heart started beating fast, but not because she was scared. It was a different kind of fast. "Hello," he said. His voice was deep and kind. "What is your name?" Sarah was so surprised that someone was talking to her. Most people pretended she was not there. "Sarah," she said, in a very quiet voice. "That is a beautiful name," he said. "My name is James. Are you hungry, Sarah?" Sarah nodded. She was always hungry. James reached into his pocket and pulled out some money. But it was not small coins like other people gave her. It was big bills. More money than Sarah usually got in one whole week. "Buy yourself some good food," he said, putting the money in her bowl. "And Sarah." "Yes, sir?" "I will see you tomorrow." Sarah watched him walk back to his shiny car. She could not believe what had just happened. As his car drove away, she looked at the money in her bowl. Her eyes filled with tears, happy tears. The next day, Sarah waited by the same spot. She had used some of the money to buy rice and chicken. It was the first real meal she had eaten in many days. She had also bought soap and washed her face and hands in the public bathroom. Just like he promised, James came back. This time, he brought food with him, hot bread and meat in a nice bag. "I thought you might be hungry," he said, sitting down next to her on the ground. Sarah was shocked. Rich people did not sit on the ground with beggars, but James did not seem to care that his clean clothes might get dirty. "Thank you, sir," Sarah said, taking the food. "But sir, why are you being so kind to me?" James was quiet for a moment. He looked at the cars going by and the people walking fast. "Everyone deserves kindness," he said finally. "And you have a good heart, Sarah. I can see it in your eyes." That day, they talked for almost 1 hour. James asked her about her life. Sarah told him how her parents had died when she was young, how she had lived on the streets for many years, how she tried to find work, but people did not want to hire someone who looked poor and dirty. James listened to every word. He did not look at her with pity like other people did. He looked at her like she was important. "Where do you sleep at night?" James asked. "Sometimes under the bridge," Sarah said. "Sometimes in the park. When it rains, I try to find somewhere covered." James looked very sad when she said this. "That is not safe for a young woman like you." "I know," Sarah said, "but I have no choice." Before James left that day, he gave her more money. "Promise me you will find somewhere safe to sleep tonight," he said. "I promise," Sarah said. And she kept her promise. She found a small room she could rent for one night. It had a real bed and a roof that did not leak. She slept better than she had in years. The next day, James came again, and the day after that, and every single day for 3 months. Each day, he brought food or money or both. Each day, they talked. Sarah learned that James loved to read books. He told her stories about faraway places. He asked her what her dreams were. "I dream of having a real home," Sarah told him one day, "with a kitchen where I can cook food, and a bed that is just mine, and maybe even a small garden where I can grow flowers." "Those are beautiful dreams, Sarah. Never stop dreaming, Sarah." Sarah also learned that James was not married and had no children. He seemed lonely sometimes, even though he was rich. This made Sarah feel sorry for him. How could someone with so much money be lonely? As the days went by, Sarah realized she was falling in love with James. She tried not to, because she knew it was impossible. He was rich and she was poor. He lived in a big house and she lived nowhere. People like him did not fall in love with people like her. James was kind to everyone, not just Sarah. She saw him give money to other beggars too. She saw him help old people carry heavy bags. She saw him buy food for stray cats and dogs. "You have a good heart," Sarah told him one day. "So do you," James said. "That is why I enjoy spending time with you." Sarah felt brave that day. "James," she said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "What do you do for work? You always have nice clothes and a nice car." James was quiet for a long time. He looked worried about something. "I work in business," he said finally. "I help people with their money." Sarah nodded. She did not understand much about business, but it sounded important. "Do you have a family?" she asked. "Not really," James said. "My parents died when I was young, like yours did. I have been alone for most of my life." This made Sarah feel even more connected to James. They both had no family. They both had been alone. Maybe that was why he was so kind to her. One day, James seemed different. He looked tired and worried. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked. "I am fine," James said. But Sarah could tell he was not telling the truth. "You can tell me if something is wrong. You listen to my problems every day. Maybe I can listen to yours." James looked at her with surprise. "You would do that?" "Of course," Sarah said. "You are my friend." Friend. Sarah had never called him that before, but that was what he was, her only friend in the whole world. "I have to travel for work soon," James said. "I might be gone for a few days." Sarah felt scared. "Will you come back?" "Of course I will come back," James said. "I promise." But James looked very worried when he said this. Sarah wondered what kind of business trip could make someone so scared. The next day, James did not come. Sarah waited all day, but he did not show up. She was worried, but tried not to think bad thoughts. Maybe his trip started early. The second day, James did not come either. Sarah was very worried now. James always kept his promises. If he said he would come back, he would come back. On the third day, Sarah was sitting in her usual spot when she heard people talking loudly nearby. "Did you see the news?" one woman said to another. "That rich man, James Wilson, is in big trouble." Sarah's heart stopped. James Wilson? Could that be her James? "What happened?" the other woman asked. "They say he stole money from his company, millions and millions of dollars. The police are looking for him." Sarah felt like she could not breathe. Her James, stealing money? It could not be true. She ran to the electronics shop to watch the news on the big television, and that was when she saw him, her James, on television, with his picture and the words "Wanted by Police" written under it.
The newswoman was talking very fast. James Wilson, one of Lagos's richest men, has disappeared after being accused of stealing $50 million from his own company. Police say he has been taking money for over 2 years. If you see this man, do not approach him. Call the police immediately. Sarah felt like the ground was moving under her feet. The man she had fallen in love with was not just rich. He was a criminal. He was a thief. And he was hiding from the police. All those months when he was being kind to her, giving her money, buying her food, where did that money come from? Was it stolen money?
Sarah thought about all the times James had seemed worried or scared. Now she understood why. He was not scared about a business trip. He was scared about getting caught by the police. Sarah walked away from the television in a daze. She felt sick to her stomach. She sat down on the ground again and put her head in her hands. What was she going to do now? The man she loved was a criminal. Should she call the police and tell them she knew where he had been every day for 3 months? Should she try to find him and ask him if it was true? Sarah looked at the money in her pocket, money that James had given her just 4 days ago. Was this stolen money? Did that make her a criminal too? She thought about James sitting with her on the ground every day, talking to her like she mattered, listening to her dreams, making her feel less alone in the world. Could someone who was so kind really be a thief? Sarah did not know what to believe anymore. Her heart said that James was a good man who would never hurt anyone, but the television said he was a criminal who had stolen millions of dollars. As Sarah sat there on the busy street, watching cars go by and people walk fast to their important places, she made a decision. She would wait for James to come back, just like he promised, and when he did, she would ask him to tell her the truth. She loved him too much to call the police without hearing his side of the story first. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe he was innocent. Maybe someone was lying about him. Or maybe the man she had fallen in love with was not who she thought he was at all. Sarah touched the small amount of money in her pocket one more time. Tomorrow she would have to decide what to do with it. Tomorrow she would have to decide if she still believed in the man who had shown her more kindness than anyone else in her whole life. But tonight she would just sit here and remember all the good times they had shared. She would remember his warm brown eyes and gentle smile. She would remember how special he made her feel. And she would hope that when he came back, he could explain everything. She would hope that the man she loved was still the good man she believed him to be, because if he was not, Sarah did not know how she would survive losing the only person in the world who had ever truly cared about her.
Sarah waited for 5 more days. Every morning she sat in her usual spot by the roadside. Every evening she went to sleep disappointed and worried. James did not come back. On the 6th day, something strange happened. A black car that looked like James's car drove slowly down the street. Sarah's heart jumped. But when the car got closer, she saw it was not James driving. It was a different man. The car stopped right in front of Sarah. The man inside rolled down his window. "Are you Sarah?" he asked. Sarah was scared. How did this stranger know her name? "Who wants to know?" she asked. "My name is David. I am James's brother." Sarah was confused. James had told her he had no family. He had said he was alone just like her. "James never told me he had a brother," Sarah said. David looked sad. "James and I have not talked for many years. We had a big fight when we were young, but I need to find him now, and you are the only person who might know where he is." "I do not know where he is," Sarah said. "He has not come to see me for 6 days." David studied Sarah's face. "You care about him," he said. "I can see it in your eyes." Sarah felt tears coming. "Yes, I care about him, but I saw on the television that he is a criminal. I do not know what to believe." David was quiet for a moment. Then he did something that surprised Sarah. He got out of his car and sat down on the ground next to her, just like James used to do. "Sarah," David said, "what I'm going to tell you will shock you, but you deserve to know the truth." Sarah's heart started beating fast. "What truth?" "James is not a criminal. James is innocent, but the real truth is much more complicated than that." Sarah felt a little bit of hope in her chest. "Tell me everything."
David took a deep breath. "James and I are twins. We look exactly the same. When we were children, people could not tell us apart. Our parents used to dress us in different colored clothes so they would know who was who." Sarah listened carefully. This was already more than James had ever told her about his family. When we grew up, James became very successful in business. He worked hard every day and built a big company. He became very rich, but he was always honest. He never cheated anyone or stole anything. "Then what happened?" Sarah asked. "I happened," David said, and his voice sounded full of shame. "I was jealous of James. I wanted to be rich like him, but I was too lazy to work hard. So I decided to steal from him." Sarah gasped. "You stole from your own brother?" "Yes," David said. "For 2 years I took money from James's company. I knew all his passwords because we are twins and we think alike. I knew how his business worked because we grew up together. I took a little bit at a time so no one would notice." Sarah felt sick. "How much did you steal?" $50 million, David said quietly. Sarah could not believe what she was hearing. "But the police think James did it." "Yes, because I made it look like James did it. I used his name. I used his passwords. When people saw someone taking the money, they thought it was James because we look exactly the same." Sarah was angry now. "How could you do that to your brother? He is a good man." "I know. I am a terrible person. I was angry at James for being more successful than me, so I wanted to hurt him. I thought he would just pay the money back and everything would be fine. I did not think the police would get involved." "Where is the money now?" Sarah asked. David looked ashamed. "I spent it all. I bought expensive cars and clothes. I went to fancy restaurants and expensive hotels. I lived like a rich man for 2 years, and now it is all gone." Sarah felt so sad for James. His own brother had betrayed him in the worst way possible. "James found out what I did 3 days before the police came," David continued. "He was so angry and hurt. He told me to turn myself in and tell the truth." "Did you?" "No, I was too scared. I ran away instead. And then the police came looking for James, thinking he was the thief." "So James had to run away too?" "Yes. Even though he did nothing wrong, he had to hide because the police thought he was guilty." Sarah thought about how worried and scared James had looked in their last few conversations. Now she understood why. "Why are you telling me this now?" Sarah asked. "Because I cannot live with myself anymore," David said. "I have been watching the news every day. I see James's picture and the word wanted under it. I know he is somewhere hiding and scared, and it's all my fault."
David started crying. Real tears were running down his face. "I want to make this right," he said. "I want to tell the police the truth, but I need to find James first and ask him to forgive me." Sarah looked at this man who looked exactly like James, but was so different inside. James was kind and honest. David was selfish and had done terrible things. "I told you I do not know where James is," Sarah said. "But you know him better than anyone else," David said. "The police told me that someone saw James talking to a beggar every day for months.
That beggar was you, was it not? Sarah nodded. James never had friends. He was always too busy working, but he talked to you every day. That means you are special to him. If he trusts anyone in this world, it is you. Sarah felt proud and sad at the same time. She was special to James, but now he was in trouble because of his terrible brother. Think, Sarah, did James ever mention a place he liked to go? Somewhere he felt safe? Sarah thought hard. James had told her many stories about different places, but most of them were about places far away that he had read about in books. Then she remembered something. He told me about a place by the water, Sarah said slowly. He said when he was a child, before his parents died, his family used to go to a small house by the lake. He said it was the only place where he ever felt truly happy. David's eyes got bright. I remember that house. Our grandfather built it. It is about 2 hours outside of Lagos, near Badagry. James and I used to fish there when we were children. Do you think he might be there? Sarah asked. It is possible. It is one of the few places that is not connected to his business. The police would not think to look there. David stood up and brushed the dirt off his clothes. Sarah, will you come with me to find James? Sarah was surprised. Why do you want me to come? Because James trusts you. If I show up alone, he might run away. He is very angry at me, and he has good reasons to be. But if you are with me, he will listen. Sarah thought about this. She wanted to see James again more than anything in the world. She wanted to hear him tell her that everything would be okay. She wanted to look into his warm brown eyes and know that the kind man she had fallen in love with was real. But she was also scared. What if James was angry that she had talked to David? What if he did not want to see her anymore? James cares about you, Sarah, David said, like he could read her thoughts. I can see it in the way you talk about him. A man does not spend time with someone every day for 3 months unless they are very important to him. Sarah made her decision. I will come with you. The drive to the lake took 3 hours because David got lost twice. Sarah had never been outside of Lagos before. She looked out the car window at all the trees and small villages they passed. It was beautiful, but she was too worried about James to enjoy it properly. When they finally found the small house by the lake, Sarah's heart was beating very fast. The house was old and simple, but it looked peaceful. There was a small boat tied to a wooden dock, and the water was calm and quiet. David's car was parked under some trees near the house. That is James's car, David said. He is here. They walked up to the front door. David knocked softly. James, David called. It is David. I need to talk to you. There was no answer. James, please. I brought Sarah with me. She is worried about you. After a few moments, they heard footsteps inside the house. The door opened slowly. James stood there looking at them. He looked tired and thin, like he had not been eating enough. His clothes were wrinkled and his hair was messy, but his eyes were still the same warm brown eyes that Sarah remembered. When James saw Sarah, his face changed. He looked surprised and happy and worried all at the same time. Sarah, he said, what are you doing here? How did you find me? I told her everything, David said quickly. I told her the truth about what I did. James looked at his brother with anger in his eyes. Get away from here, David. You have caused enough trouble. James, please, David said. I want to make this right. I am ready to tell the police the truth. It is too late for that, James said. Do you know what you have done to my life? I can never go back to my company. I can never show my face in Lagos again. Everyone thinks I am a criminal.
Sarah could see how much pain James was in. She stepped forward. "James," she said softly, "I know you are not a criminal. I always knew you were a good man." James looked at Sarah, and his angry expression became soft. "Sarah, you should not be here. It is dangerous for you to be seen with me." "I do not care," Sarah said. "You were kind to me when no one else was. You made me feel important when the whole world treated me like I was nothing. I want to help you." James stared at Sarah for a long moment. Then he opened the door wider. "Come inside, both of you."
The inside of the house was simple but clean. There were old pictures on the walls of two little boys who looked exactly the same. Sarah realized these were James and David when they were children. "I've been living here for 6 days," James said, "eating fish from the lake and trying to figure out what to do with my life." "You can have your life back," David said. "I will tell the police everything. I will go to jail and you will be free." "Will you really do that?" James asked. "Yes," David said. "I should have done it from the beginning. I was just too scared and selfish." James looked at his brother for a long time. "Why now? Why are you finally ready to tell the truth?" David looked at Sarah. "Because I met Sarah. I saw how much she cares about you, and it made me realize how much I had hurt you. You found someone who loves you for who you are, not for your money. And I almost destroyed that." Sarah felt her cheeks get warm. David had said the word that she had been too scared to say, even to herself: love. James looked at Sarah with surprise. "Sarah, is that true? Do you care about me that way?" Sarah felt brave. After everything that had happened, she was not going to hide her feelings anymore. "Yes," she said, "I love you, James. I do not care that you are rich or that people think you are a criminal. I love you because you are kind and good. You are the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered." James walked over to Sarah and took her hands in his. His hands were warm and strong, just like she remembered. "Sarah," he said, "I love you too. These 3 months with you have been the happiest time of my whole life. When I had to run away, the thing I missed most was not my company or my money, it was you." Sarah felt tears of happiness in her eyes. "Really?" "Really," James said. "You make me want to be a better man. You make me feel like my life has meaning." David was watching them with a sad smile. "This is what I almost destroyed," he said. "James, I am so sorry. I will call the police right now and tell them everything." David pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Hello, police. My name is David Wilson. I want to confess to a crime. I stole $50 million from Wilson Industries. My brother James Wilson is innocent. I am ready to turn myself in." Sarah listened as David gave the police the address of the lake house. When he hung up, he looked relieved. "They will be here in 1 hour," David said. "James, you will be free to go home." James put his arm around Sarah. "I am not sure where home is anymore." "Your home can be anywhere you want it to be," Sarah said, "as long as we are together." James smiled. It was the first real smile Sarah had seen from him since he had been hiding. "Sarah, when all this is over, when my name is cleared and I can live freely again, will you stay with me? Will you let me take care of you the way you deserve to be taken care of?" Sarah thought about her dream of having a real home with a kitchen and a bed and a small garden, but now her dream was bigger. Now her dream included love. "Yes," she said, "I will stay with you." 1 hour later, the police arrived. They arrested David and listened as he confessed to everything. They apologized to James and told him he was free to go. As David was being put in the police car, he looked at James and Sarah. "Take care of each other," he said. "And James, forgive me someday if you can." James nodded.
I forgive you now, David. I hope you can forgive yourself. After the police left, James and Sarah sat by the lake and watched the sunset. The water was calm and beautiful, and Sarah felt peaceful for the first time in years. "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "Now we start our new life together," James said. "I will rebuild my company and clear my name completely, and you will never have to beg on the street again." "Will people accept us?" Sarah asked. "A rich man and a former beggar?" James took Sarah's hand. "I do not care what people think. You are the most valuable thing in my life. You loved me when you thought I was just a kind stranger, and you still loved me when you thought I was a criminal. That kind of love is worth more than all the money in the world." Sarah smiled. "I still cannot believe this is real." "It is real," James said. "And Sarah?" "Yes? You were wrong about one thing. You said you were just a roadside beggar, but you are not. You are the woman who saved my life by showing me what real love looks like." As the stars began to appear in the sky above the quiet lake, Sarah realized that sometimes the most shocking secrets can lead to the most beautiful truths. James had been hiding that he was rich, but the real secret was that he had a heart big enough to love someone that the rest of the world had forgotten. And Sarah, who had spent years believing she was worthless, learned that she was valuable enough to change a billionaire's life forever. Their love story had started with lies and ended with truth, and that truth would be the foundation of their happy life together.